Good morning, Gooners. Sounds like Good Morning Vietnam, but I don't mean that at all. We're on the Gooner Vidcast podcast, whatever you like, cast. We've got some burning questions to ask. These questions will be answered by me, myself. I'm going to answer these questions. So my alter ego asks these questions. Will RVP stay? He's now Player of the Year, of course. He deserved that accolade, and he's won it fair and square. And I would have to say no. I wish I could say yes, but as Graham Souness said on Sky Sports, if Arsenal don't address the issue of not bringing in great players to play alongside him, then how could he be expected to stay? The guy wants to win silverware, and doesn't really look like we're going to win any silverware, even though we're getting nearer. Third position's not bad, given the wage bill, the money we've spent, and so on. Third is about right, but we do need to be winning trophies, a bit like Liverpool. Somebody did ask me at one stage, would I prefer to be in Liverpool shoes? The answer to that is no. Although, of course, they've won the Carling Cup and they've got an FA Cup final to come. I wouldn't really want to be in their shoes missing out on Champions League football. I think Champions League football is the criteria by which we judge Arsene Wenger, and you'd have to say on that basis he's been a success. But the problem is, the caveat is that you're going to lose players like Robin van Persie every 1 or 2 seasons. We're going to make a great, then we're going to lose a great, and that's going to happen with Robin van Persie, I'm afraid to say. I hope I'm wrong, but I don't think wages of £110,000 a week, which allegedly he's been offered to stay, is going to do the trick. I think he just wants to win silverware, and he may have lost the faith. Hopefully not, because our form, apart from the last couple of games, has been pretty good in the latter half of the season. Perhaps that will be enough to convince him to stay. Personally, I doubt it. So, moving on to the next question, let me put it up. Who is to blame for Theo's injury? Of course, Theo is Theo Walcott, one of my favourite players. Despite all the criticism he gets, he does score goals, even from the wing, and he does put crosses in, and he is the main supply line for Robin van Persie. Although some people suggest it's Alex Song, who's also been getting a fair bit of stick lately for not being able to play the simple pass and actually find a red shirt. Anyway, back to Theo for a moment. Well, it was clear that he had a hamstring injury against Chelsea. Quite why he was allowed to continue, having already had the medical assessment, is beyond me completely. Arsene Wenger said it sounded like he's kind of blaming the player, saying that Theo wanted to go back on. And, well, the point is, Arsene Wenger is ultimately responsible for these things. He's the manager. He has to make the managerial decision. Even if it's unpalatable for the player has to come off. If there's any chance he's going to aggravate an injury, especially a hamstring, which obviously is going to keep him out of the remaining games of the season, it's just not worth the risk. There's even the chance that it could be even more serious than that, I believe. But, I mean, the prognosis is that Theo will be fit again in 6 to 8 weeks. He might make Euro 2012. In a way, from a personal point of view, I'd rather he doesn't, because I want him to be fit for Arsenal, not for England. So, you'd have to say the blame is fairly and squarely on Arsene Wenger's shoulders. Right, moving on to question 3. Will Arsenal finish third? I think I can say a yes on that. Probably. I predicted that Arsenal would finish above Chelsea. Looks like we're going to do that, thanks to that draw. Not losing to Chelsea was a big thing for me, because I've got a personal bet, a £10 bet with the editor of the Gooner, and hopefully I won't let him forget about it, and £10 should be winging its way to me. And moving on to the final question I've got there, I haven't actually shown you yet. Are the fans right to get on Rambo's case, or Rambo's back? Well, Rambo being Aaron Ramsey, of course. Aaron Ramsey's had a serious injury, let's not forget that. He's played an awful lot of games. He's had a pretty good season overall. He's just not been at his best of late because it's been such a long season, and he is still recovering. Let's not pile too much pressure upon him. You could criticise once again the manager for not bringing in those additional players that many of us thought we needed. He seemed to decide for one reason or another that we didn't need to really strengthen in the January transfer window. I think that was a big mistake. I think we should have brought in 1 or 2 players at least. Obviously, I'm one of those fans that always wants more players than we ever bring in, but that's another story entirely. But looking at the squad, you'd have to say we do look a bit short, especially when we're coming up against Chelsea reserves and we can't turn them over. Chelsea did put in a good performance against us. Let's not take any credit away from them. They were resilient at the back. They really had a game plan, and they weren't going to divert away from that game plan. They were really looking at our game as a practice match for the Barca game, and there was only one or two players in there that will play against Barcelona, or say two or three. Cahill, Terry, Cole came on as a sub. Obviously, he's going to play, and Peter Cech in goal. Peter Cech's in great form, by the way, so it was always going to be difficult to get past him. And then, of course, Gary Cahill was one of those players that we wish we had bought, and many of our fans do anyway, and we didn't for one reason or another. We let him slip away, and Chelsea have gained from our loss, really. And then John Terry, of course, not the most popular figure in sort of Arsenal folklore, but then again, he is a good player, still a good player. He might have already passed his sell-by date, but he's still got something to offer, and he was always going to be a difficult opponent. So it proved to be, and we only got a point. But overall, as I think I read on the Gooner website, taking 4 points from Manchester City and Chelsea at home is not bad, but losing all 3 points against Wigan, well, we can't look at that with relish, can we? And finally, you didn't see it, but right down the bottom in my little mini league table, it's got Arsenal 165 points, Newcastle 162, Tottenham, or Totteringham as we like to call them sometimes, 59 points. And the remaining games, as you can see, Stoke away. I've got that down. I'm going to add my points total to it now. Just get my marker pen out. Stoke away, I've got that down as 1 point. Now, how about Newcastle? Wigan away. That's going to be tricky. But, yes, I think with Wigan having that disappointment against Fulham, I think they'll bounce back. But I think it's probably going to be a draw. So I'll put that down as a draw. That's going to be a tough game, no doubt about that. And then what about Blackburn at home for Spurs? Well, I'm not going to tell you. I'm just going to show you. I've got that down as 3 points. So that won't be good for us. So the revised points total after those games, if it all goes as I think it will be 66 for Arsenal, 63 for Newcastle, and 62 for Spurs. So it will all be getting pretty tight as the race for the top three proceeds. So the following game we've got, we got a kind of miss game after that, and then that's when the other teams play catch up. Well, Newcastle's catch up game in hand, is against Chelsea. Sorry, Newcastle, no points there. That's away at Stamford Bridge. I just can't see it. They might nick a point, but that's the best they can hope for, I think. And then Spurs have got Bolton away. Let's put that down as 1 point, because Miyaichi might even come to the plate and actually put in a goal against our North London rivals. Let's hope so anyway. And Bolton are fighting for their lives, so I think it's certainly not going to be an easy game. And Spurs not in the best of form, obviously, as they showed against Queen's Park Rangers, losing that game 1-0. Then we've got Norwich at home. I've got that down as 3 points. Newcastle have got Manchester City. Oh, sorry, I didn't add the points, so Spurs got an extra point. So then at this point, with the games in hand played, I've got it down as Arsenal 66, Newcastle 63, Spurs 63. So then we've got our three points against Norwich. It's no guarantee we're going to get 3 points, but I think we'll probably edge it. Then we've got Newcastle have got Manchester City at home. Well, you can imagine I don't expect them to get many points from that. 1 at most. I'm even loath to put down 1, but I'll put down 1 point. And Spurs away at Villa. Sorry, I think that's 3 points. So, after that round of games, you can see Newcastle, 64 points. Spurs, 66 points. And we've got 69 points. So that will mean it's all going to depend on the last day of the season. Who's going to get that coveted third spot? Obviously, it's very important, particularly this year, what with Chelsea pushing for the Champions League. If they win it, that means third spot. We need to get third spot, simple as that. Because if we get fourth spot, we may miss out on Champions League football if Chelsea win the Champions League. Even third spot means it could be down to playing a qualifying match to get through if Chelsea win the Champions League. So you can imagine who I am hoping is going to win that Champions League semi-final, Chelsea-Barcelona. Anyway, for the final game of the season, I think 3 points against West Bromwich Albion. I'm not saying it's going to be assured. Obviously, West Brom have just beaten Liverpool away from home, but I think we'll be capable of doing it. Whether we do turn up on the day and get those points, we'll have to wait and see. But I'm saying yes, we will. Newcastle have got Everton away. I see that as 1 point, so that puts them on 65. And then Tottenham have got Fulham at home. That's 3 points. Even though Martin Jol's going back to his old stomping, hunting ground, whatever you like to call it, I don't see that Spurs are going to have too many problems turning over Fulham. So this gives the final lineup. Obviously, I haven't included Chelsea in this because I think they're going to be distracted with the FA Cup final and the Champions League final. The final totals there: Arsenal 72 points, Spurs behind on 69 points, and Newcastle well behind on 65, which is why I have been ruling out the barcodes for quite a long time, thinking they're not going to be quite good enough in the final analysis. So let's hope I'm right about this. I'm not right about many things, particularly in predictions, although I was right about a lot of predictions before I started putting them online. So, well, I'm just keeping my fingers crossed and everything else crossed, as I always say. Until next time, take care.